Hey folks, RX here, and I just wanted to give a future-proofing video. I've seen some plot holes, or not plot holes, potholes that Plarium might be falling into, um, or could potentially fall into. And I just wanted to point them out for the player base, see if anybody shares some of my concerns, and really start some discussion on that. Because I see a lot of road mapping done by Plarium, and I just kind of want to identify some areas that I think could potentially give us players some trouble down the road. That's to say nothing of the stability issues we saw today, but I will get into that. So anyway, here we are, and thank you for the view. I hope you enjoy. And so it's pretty difficult to tell whether or not those the issues, the connectivity issues we've all been experiencing today on 9.9 have been on Plarium's part, on your ISP, but considering the fact that I was on AT&T Wi-Fi and Verizon 4G LTE, I'm leaning towards it was probably Plarium possibly rolling out back-end code for a while for the PC release of Raid Shadow Legends, and something broke, and I think they're just slow to admit it. But that's just what I'm suspecting, that don't take that to the bank. So I wanted to harp on a couple of things. And the biggest thing I've noticed is that with the release of Faction Wars, we kind of have this difficulty scaling that goes from, of course I can't pull them up anymore. Well, we have this difficulty scaling that goes from a stage 6, level 40 enemies, 4-star 40 enemies. My Bellower can freaking solo this content, to getting absolutely flattened and steamrolled by this little lady boss, to level 120, 130 enemies at stage 8. And we're seeing these huge difficulty jumps. And I understand this is Plarium's attempt at future-proofing. I understand that they need to be able to keep this content fresh and relevant. What it looks like for, let's call this stage 1, for 2 major stages, so for 2 or 3 major stages of development. So I understand this is probably going to last us, this faction war table is going to, it's intended, I think, to last us for approximately 1 to 2 years, my just estimation. For crucify me if you want, but the point being, it's supposed to carry us pretty far into the future for development. I mean, they're going up to 6-star glyphs and things like that, so they expect us to have a well-rounded team for what looks like every group of factions. But that's really not possible, except for doors. Of course, we don't have doors unlocked yet. But that's not really possible because there are some champions that just, or some factions that just have sucky champions all around. Looking at Banner Lords, like outside of, oh no, Venus's Sacred Order. Cool. So outside of like some of the Void champions here, really not a lot to write home about. There's not a lot that's going to sustain you through these high-end dungeons until you get to maybe Lugan at the legendary level for a healer, and maybe some Lord Champfort for his buffing. But other than that, there's really not enough in this faction. I think Barbarians might be one of them as well, because yeah, you've got these 3, and outside of these 3, you don't really have much in Barbarians that'll carry you through insanely high levels of content. So I guess my first tweak, or my first suggestion to Plarium would be to let's start addressing some of these glaring holes in factions, or maybe doing some reworks or something like that, because that's definitely, I understand you're future-proofing your content, but we've also got to get the players to the point where, I mean, I don't even think many super whales have good ogring tribes or skinwalker teams. I mean, skinwalkers, you've got Longbeard, you've got maybe Smashlord, and then Rain Beast, and Steel Skull, and that's about it for decent skinwalkers. I mean, that's a 4 stack right there, and that's being a little generous, honestly. So then that's like the whaliest of whale stuff. Like you just don't have it in these teams. So I understand the need to future-proof your content, but it would make sense to also give us players a way to do the content in front of us. I mean, that Night Revenant boss is just wrecking my team hard. Just the ignore defense part. I just don't get to play, which, like it or hate it, is what it is. But I'm sure that these other bosses would be flattening me if I could even get to them. If we do that, though, I understand that Plarium might just release more champions to fill these gaps out, as opposed to rework some of the current roster. Well, that's fine and dandy, however, but that leads me to my next 2 points. I'm probably going to spend a lot of time on these points because they're super important to me. The first being that we're starting to get a pretty diluted pool of heroes. An Ancient Shard can give you any non-void hero in the game that's bluing up, essentially. And that's getting to be a lot. There's going to be a point at which the math is such that, I mean, it's already getting pretty bad, but it's going to get to the point where when you have 300-400 heroes in the game, that it's, and then forgive me for this, but yeah, we're already over 200, no problem. No, actually, we're getting pretty close to 200 because 50, call that 50, so that's 100, 200, or 150. Yeah, we're getting close to the 200 mark, a little bit over the 200 mark. So we're getting to the point where it's becoming unreliable to be able to farm shards, like pull shards for people. It really is becoming a truly lottery-based system where you don't know what you're going to get, and that's fine to an extent. I understand there needs to be some degree of RNG and slot machine here, but as you further dilute that pool and put more filler style heroes in that just don't fit niches, that's more useless pulls. That's more pulls that just decrease the value, the real money value of buying these shards, because I'm not going to buy shards if I know that instead of right now there's an 8% chance of getting a hero that I could use between all of the rarities put together. Well, when that becomes a 4% chance or a 3% chance or even a 5% chance, well, that means I've got to pull, I don't know, 100 shards to get 5 useful champions. No thanks. I don't really want to pull 20 shards to get something that I can use and get 19 fodders on average. You know what I mean? That's just a little bit too much. So we've got to consider that Plarium needs to, in the interest of future proofing, needs to look towards some way to streamline how you can get more useful heroes from shards at a not completely reliable, obviously there still has to be RNG, but somewhat more reliable pace than what it might end up becoming. For example, the dwarves, largely useless right now. When I pull a dwarf, I'm just like, well, rip me, that sucked. So we need to address that, Plarium. That leads me to my third point, and this is arguably the most important one, and arguably the one I'll spend the least amount of time on. Sucks to be me. So with all these new heroes coming out, and with all of these extra pulls that are useless to us, but we don't have a way to instantly just feed a champion in to something, we are quickly, and I mean quickly, running out of vault space. You can buy a maximum of 100 slots plus 200 in the vault. It's 300 slots. And I'll tell you right now, I like to do big shard opening videos. I like to do 120 shards so I can. That fills up half my vault. And let's just say we don't do any shard opening videos. Let's go ahead and say we need a 5-person squad, 5-champion squad for Faction Wars. And let's say we want to be an uber whale and prep for everything. It's 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 55, 60, 65, 70, 75, 80. When all these factions are released, there's going to be 80 champions you're going to have to keep on hand at any point in time just for Faction Wars. That's glyphing, that's gearing, That's leveling. That's feeding. Getting everybody to 6 stars. That's a lot of food. That's mastering, everything like that. And so my point is that 80 slots is most of your non-vault inventory. There's no room to collect fodder to slowly trickle up and feed. You can get, what, 1 5-star, I think, maybe in that space? I'm not sure. No, you can't even. You can get maybe a 4-star. So you can't even effectively feed while keeping everybody out and ready for the battles. And so you have to switch in and out of the vault a lot, which is pretty cumbersome. So a UI overhaul with the vault would be kind of nice, decreasing the lag a little bit, making the transitions a little more seamless, making it a little bit less. Oh, now I can't see my champions. Now it's cumbersome to go through and look at their stats and blah, 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 look at their individual everythings. UI overhaul would be nice, but more importantly, we need more slots. 100 and 200 is an arbitrary, completely arbitrary amount. I mean, hypothetically, I would assume you could put up to 256 there without having to go up to a new carrier digit, unless you do your programming a different way, and that's fine. But like, my point is, it's an arbitrary number. Why not upgrade it? It just makes sense, especially for people who are shucking through large amounts of shards at a time. Who, if I need to prep for an event like the one coming up, the champion training event, I'd love to be able to just dump 100 green shards out right there and just have all my food ready to just cycle in and out, cycle in and out, cycle in and out, and that would just be wonderful. So I can't do that with my current vault size. I'm sure there are other people having that problem too, but if it's not a problem for you now, it will become a problem in the future as you try and excel at this content. And so I understand the need to future-proof, but the point is that some of this future-proofing is, there's no room for it in the player side. And so I hope that we can address that before too long. Those are my chief concerns right now with the state of the game. Ignoring stability aside, I'm kind of looking towards the future and seeing some issues in the not so distant future, honestly. The rollout of the new clan boss coming out, with the rollout of some new factions coming out according to the roadmap, with the rollout of the PC version, we're going to see years of development go by quickly. And so there's going to be a lot. It's going to be at a breakneck pace. If they do that, well, don't forget to address some of these concerns too, because it doesn't make any sense for us to have all these wonderful things if we as players can't actually experience them because we don't have the actual storage space to hold enough champions to reach those levels of content. Plarium. So if you share some of my concerns, if you have other concerns, feel free to list them in the comments. Like, share, subscribe. If you have any interest in what I say, you think your friends would enjoy this video, pop it in your Discord, those kinds of things, because cross-promotion really helps me out. That being said, I'm still working on the entrance cards, on the music and everything like that. I know I promised it, but it's in the works. I'm not a sound guy. My friend who is in sound has a life of his own, so it's taking time. I've had a couple of questions about that, but thank you for watching. I sincerely hope that you folks have a good day, and take care of yourselves, all right?